Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our channel Paws On Animation and our Paws On Manga segment.
And today we're doing something different for this segment. That's comparing two Pirates of the Caribbean novelizations.
Now this is for a Jack Sparrow prequel novel series created by Rob Kidd, showing the adventures of Jack as a boy leading up to forming his own pirate crew in the movies. And it's been a regular novel and manga. However, the story is told in two completely different ways and really affects the reading. You won't believe. One is interesting, and unfortunately the other one isn't.
Right.
But
before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, click keep on future podcasts and want to pause videos.
Thank you for joining us today, subscribing, sharing our videos, commenting, everything you do. As always, we appreciate you.
Yes.
Now I have to give credit to Rascal because she found these. And I was really excited because I was hoping they would be as interesting and engaging as the first few Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
Right. And at first I picked up the manga version. It happened to be finding it while looking through the library catalog. And I said, okay, I'll grab this. Then ended up finding the original light novels before the manga. And they didn't have them all, so I just picked the earliest one they had available and got both to do a comparison. Since you never heard about these books and never knew they existed. And read the manga first because it's a pirate manga. I think it's going to be like One Piece. And it was totally different than I thought, and it was very strange reading it, actually.
What's pretty funny is it was Disney. We should have known they were going to do something to mess it up.
Right.
What was surprising for me and totally disappointing is the manga ended up not being about Jack. It ended up being about some girl that was on there. And it really was her book. It wasn't Jack Sparrow's book. It was all about her. It was like watching an anime series or an anime where you think the main character is going to be the focus, and they end up not being it. Just like the Peter Pan series we started watching called Neverland.
Yes.
And Peter Pan isn't even in the movie.
Not much.
But maybe 10 minutes of an hour.
Yes. Pretty much that as a manga.
Yeah.
And the weird part is, even though we haven't read the first two books of the novel series, the third one we picked up was interesting. And we couldn't believe how different it was with the manga adaptation. That one decides to cram three or four books into one story. But we didn't know, instead of just taking it into a graphic novel format and you see the images of what's being described, they just reinvented the story into one story. So after this ends, they don't adapt any more of the story into a manga format. It stops after 3.
Well, that's a blessing because the manga sucked.
You did.
I'm grateful that they didn't do anything else with it. We have seen this time and time again with Lilo and Stitch, with Iron Man. We've seen them do other mangas and they end up being garbage.
So
they need to keep their hands off. The only thing we've read, I think, that's supposed to be a manga is the one about the Queen of Hearts.
Yeah, the Twisted Wonderland.
Yes, that was pretty decent. And other than that, everything else has been garbage.
Pretty much.
Now you get to the light novel, and you said we read which one?
We read Sword of Cortez. I think that was the name of it.
And it was really good. I couldn't believe how good it was. It was like night and day between reading them.
Yes.
And I was really interested in reading more about the story.
Yes.
It was, the cover art was done by Jean-Paul Orpinas, Maria Elena Nagy, and Alex Eserlo.
Yes.
The design and the drawing. It was published by Disney back in 2006, 128 pages.
Yes.
But it was really, really interesting.
These are almost 20 years old.
Enjoyed it. From the first page, I was hooked.
Yes.
And I said, well, Disney put their name on it, but it's clear they had nothing to do with this.
Right. And again, this is a book we read out of order. It's so good that even when you read it from the beginning, it was still interesting.
It was the 4th in the series.
4th, okay. And another thing that's different between the manga and the novel is that Jack's characterization is different. When read the manga first, he kind of looked like how you would think Jack looked like as a kid, but when you started reading his dialogue, it sounded off. It didn't sound like it was Jack talking.
True.
Especially the way he was speaking to other people. He didn't say anything smart aleck to them or try to steal. He was kind of acting different. And at first I thought maybe they're saying he was a different kid, and then he grows up into Jack Sparrow. Like he started one personality and grew into something else. Then we read the novel, and No, Jack's in character in the novel. He has the way he speaks, the same accent, the smart aleck stuff, the lassie and all that. All that's in the novel, but in the manga, they have him speaking more proper English, which wasn't even accurate.
Right. So it's described as before the Black Pearl, there was a teenage boy named Jack Sparrow.
Yes. And he has the enchanted sheath. He's read the mystical incantation. He's holding the all-powerful Sword of Cortez in his hands. But unfortunately for Jack Sparrow, he also has a specter of the sword's first master, Hernan Cortez, watching over his shoulder. Now stranded on a snowy Caribbean island, the fate of the Barnacle's crew, which is his old ship, hangs in the balance. Jack must find a way to command the unwieldy power of the sword, defeat Cortez, and save his mates.
Now let me tell you, what you just heard is as exciting as what you just heard the book. The book is so darn good.
Yes. Even, again, reading it out of order is fantastic. And we would love to read the story from the beginning, whether it be from library or it be we buy the books, because we were that engaged in it. It was something you're surprised, well, sort of surprised, Disney doesn't seem to follow good ideas anymore, that they didn't make this into its own series or movies. Well, maybe they do movies because the kid would get older too quickly.
Well, that happens with every show.
Right.
They could have done it.
They had either that or turn into an animated series and a prequel for Pirates of the Caribbean, rather than milking this for 5-6 movies or deciding we're going to reboot it with all female pirates. Just adapt this into a show or a set of movies, and there's more of your continuation right there.
Yeah. It is so interesting seeing how he grows into the character.
Yes.
And you do have other people that appear with him later in the movies.
Yes.
But they're all kids, and you see how they meet. This is just the perfect book to start this novel with. Even as we mentioned, if you don't start with the beginning, this is the perfect book, because I didn't realize there was one before it until you told me.
Right.
And I realized there was anything after it until I finished reading and going, the story's not done. You're like, well, it's a whole series. Oh my gosh, this is great. You will not find it at the library. You will have to put it on order.
Yes, because they are, unfortunately, by the time we went back to look, the remaining books were all gone. So we don't know what happened, but you can no longer rent these at the library, so we will have to order. And now that you mentioned about how the story goes, brings us back to the manga. Two huge problems besides Jack's characterization is that it moves way too fast. It's trying to tell 3 books at one time and try to reconfigure it into one story. But it goes so fast with its quote-unquote action. There's a ton of dialogue that you didn't think was necessary, even though it's a graphic novel manga. You would think they would have less talking, but they talk so much in it. And then it has a very unsatisfying end, because you can tell they cut a lot of the story out because they were trying to fit this into one big volume, and not that much happens in there. So the entertainment value, unfortunately, for once is lower with the manga. You're not getting invested in the story and these characters, because look, they're just trying to rush and trying to make it look like Full Metal Alchemist of all things.
And you know it's because Disney told them what to do. You can tell in any of the mangas you read that Disney has published, you can see that it doesn't even follow the storyline of the source material. And as you mentioned, the character is no longer the character. They try to shove a bunch of information in, or they just leave giant parts of it back. They've even done it with graphic novels like Artemis Fowl. They ruined everything they put their hands on when it comes to books. And the manga just shouldn't have been written. They should have allowed this person to continue. But probably just like with Owen Colfer, they were tired of it and wanted to move in another direction. Totally dissing the fans of the series. So we read that, again, it was written by Rob Kidd, the book series. The first 4 books, volumes 1 through 4, covered a story arc later known as The Quest for the Sword of Cortez, a title used in a collection of the same name, as well as being used in series as of the 5th book, The Age of Bronze. In 2017, the series was reprinted and published under different covers, which they also did with Artemis Fowl.
Yes, they really love to do reprints of different variant covers like comics, and it makes no sense.
Well, one reason they do it is because when we were speaking of Artemis Fowl, and Owen Colfer had made up his own elfin language. And when you got to the reprints, the language was different. And you said, well, why did they do it? I said, so they don't have to pay him for the language, alphabet, and the language he originally created in the original books. They changed it to something that was lame and plain and stupid, but it was theirs. Yeah. So they got paid, and they didn't have to give him royalties on any of that in the preceding reprints. And this is what Disney does. You can have something exceptional, fantastic, and because they don't want to give people money, the ones who had the original idea and the concept is their intellectual property, they don't want to pay them. So they change it entirely or change it just enough that they don't have to. And that's not the way it used to work. If you think about Walt Disney, back a long time ago when he was alive, he gave not only credit to the people, the source material, but he would do a good amount of keeping it faithful to it. He'd make some changes to make it Disney, but it wasn't so much Disney that you didn't recognize the character or the source material. But now Disney just doesn't care anymore. And I'm just going to be honest, the people they've got there, the women they've got on staff, they need to be switched out because they were there when these books were done. And they're still there. They're still there.
We're in 2006. And we're about to hit 20 years since these books came out. And they're still doing the same exact thing across their book publication thing. They're not letting the stories be stories even as books. They're so invested in trying to retell the same story over and over again, or give the villain the spotlight,
or give the female the spotlight. It can be a book about a male, and suddenly it won't be about the male and be about the female.
It'll switch on you.
You know, I feel like Nobara in JJK. I don't give a darn about that crap. I want a good story. I don't care if it's a male or female or whatever type of lead it is. I don't care. I just want a good story. And until Disney gets that through their heads and stops letting these people ruin all the reading material, it's going to be just like that manga. So what we recommend, read The Adventures of Jack Sparrow book series 1 through 8. Stay away from the manga. Don't waste your time because it's terrible. We also had the girl look like Winry. You can see aspects of other anime trying to be copied.
It looked like the art style was trying to copy Fullmetal Alchemist, especially Jack looked like Edward the whole time, and it was very bizarre. And then a lot of the pirate lore they tried to change up for the manga looked like it was supposed to be like One Piece. For some reason, they went back to other animes and mangas, and it's nothing to do with either one of those things.
Too bad. So if you've read any of the Pirates of the Caribbean Jack Sparrow series of books, let us know in the comments. Did you love it like we did just reading one? Did you hate it? Have you read the manga? My condolences. If you have, tell us what you think. And if you haven't, again, stay away from the manga. It's a waste of your time. And please don't buy it to be a waste of your money. You could buy water or toilet paper instead of buying that manga. And if you haven't, read The Adventures of Jack Sparrow series. It is absolutely worth it. I can't wait for us to get more of the books and read the entire thing. And let us know what you think in the comments.
And if you haven't already, subscribe for updates to book reviews for anime series, anime shows, and all things animation.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us for this book review. We're so happy to share this with you. So little comes good out of Disney now, but it's good that we can tell you that this Adventures of Jack Sparrow book series is worth the read. And probably worth buying as well if you don't get at the library.
Definitely.
As always,
you are special. Thank you so much for watching Masculine Entertainment.
And Mom Entertainment.
Have a toontastic day.
Peace.